Hello everyone, at this time we're going to be going over our NCAA policies for our compliance portion of our meeting this year. Again, a reminder, in order to participate, everything must be completed. These forms will be done as online PDFs. You can follow along. The first of which will be this form 20-3C. You can find that link in the Moodle course. Go ahead and open that one up, as well as the other form, which is the 20-3F. Go ahead and have both of those open. We'll start with the -3C one. In order for us to have access to this, how this is going to work, you will go ahead and complete the form along with me during this meeting, and then when we are complete with it, you will save it, print it, physically sign it, scan and upload it as a document. So it needs to be not only completed with the check marks and information, but we need that physical signature. So that's how this is going to work for these two forms. If we have any international students, you will need to complete one more additional form. So please see me at some point after you go through this meeting. The first thing that we're going to go over, like I said, is Form 17-3C. It's pretty extensive, covers a lot of information about your eligibility, the Buckley Amendment, and drug test results, and more. To start off, we're going to go through a summary of NCAA regulations so you understand exactly what it is you're signing as it pertains to your eligibility. So, no, first and foremost, all student athletes must act with honesty and sportsmanship. You're not eligible to compete if you've shown dishonesty in evading or violating any NCAA regulations, or if you've knowingly participated in any gambling activities that involves intercollegiate or professional athletics. For financial aid, you're not eligible if you have received financial aid other than the non-athletics financial aid that we distribute. Again, that's just how Division III works, no athletics aid. Academic standards, you must be enrolled full-time, except when you are in your last semester before graduation, and you don't need full-time credits to graduate. For seasons of participation, a season of participation is counted if you practice or compete during or after the first contest. So even if you don't play in that first game that's scheduled, but you show up, or you show up to the next practice but then decide to quit, that will have exhausted that 1 year of eligibility for you. That does not apply to a preseason scrimmage or the non-traditional sports segment. You are also not eligible to compete or participate in sports if you've taken pay or the promise of pay, agreed to compete in professional athletics, or have competed in professional athletics, or used your athletic skill for pay in any form, any form in that sport. You are not eligible if you have accepted pay for promoting a commercial product or service and allow your name or picture to be used for promoting that. You're also not eligible to compete for more than 4 seasons or after 10 semesters, of which during time you've been enrolled full-time. For transfers, you're considered a transfer if you were officially registered and enrolled in a full-time program of study for at least a semester at another institution, or you reported for a regular squad practice at another institution. Also, if you wish to correspond with another NCAA institution, hopefully not, about the opportunity to transfer, they must have permission to contact you before any correspondence can occur. For new students, there's a lot of things about recruitment. We'll breeze through them here real quick. You're not eligible if pretty much if anything more than necessary was paid for during your recruiting process, whether that's coaches coming out extravagantly to see you, or you having extra things paid for on your visit. You would not be eligible if anything, if we paid for more than 1 visit for you, if your paid visit lasted more than 48 hours, if anything more than the actual round trip of travel was reimbursed or paid, if your visit to come here was paid before January 1st of your junior year, or if you had, again, extravagant amount of things paid for, like excessive transportation, excessive meals, or excessive housing. For contacts, so a contact means any face-to-face encounter, and you would not be eligible if anybody from school made that contact, that face-to-face encounter with you before you completed your sophomore year in high school. Again, face-to-face. The electronic correspondence could happen, or if you happen to come for a visit on our campus, that would have been okay, but anything else, no. Sports camps, you would not be eligible if you received a discounted rate to attend a sports camp on the basis of being a recruit or a commit. So now that we covered all of those NCAA policies, and those are also linked in the Moodle course if you want to read them more extensively, but now that we've completed that, we're going to go over the part 1 statement concerning eligibility. So by signing this form, you affirm that to the best of your knowledge, you're eligible to compete. You've received that copy of the NCAA regulations that's, like I said, linked in the Moodle course and what we just went over. And that you are not in violation of any regulations. Part 2 is the FERPA and HIPAA consent. So by signing this form, you certify to disclose your educational records for the purpose of evaluating, determining, and/or confirming your eligibility. You also give consent to disclose that information only to the necessary people. And again, that it's only for terms of eligibility. So things that would be included in that are this form, results of any NCAA or non-NCAA drug tests, your transcripts, pre-college test scores, graduation status, social security number and student ID, race and gender identification, any education impacting disabilities, any records concerning your financial aid, and anything pertaining to your NCAA eligibility. From the HIPAA side, you understand that certain health-related information is protected by HIPAA, and you agree to disclose some of it as it pertains to your participation in collegiate athletics, including information regarding injury, illness, or any diagnosis, treatment, or management of any injury or illness, and as related to or affecting training for and participation in intercollegiate athletics. And this is, again, solely for the purpose of evaluating and determining your eligibility. So there is more additional voluntary consents regarding these two things. So you can either check the first 2 boxes where you agree to disclose those educational records that we went over, and your health information records that we went over. You agree to disclose those either for evaluating, determining, and confirming additional awards and recognition, and for your HIPAA consent for the NCAA Injury Surveillance Program for research into the reduction of athletics injuries. So you can either agree, like I said, check those first 2 boxes to disclose the information for additional things like that, or click the last box that you do not agree to have to disclose the additional information. Part 3 is about amateurism. By signing this part of the form, you certify that you will agree to and promptly report any violation of amateurism rules to the Director of Athletics. Additionally, you will check either box 1, that you have not had any prior violations of NCAA amateurism rules or provision of false or misleading information concerning amateur status, or you would check box 2 that you have had a prior amateurism violation, and if so, be sure to follow up with me after. Part 4 is drug tests. By signing this part of the form, you certify that you'll agree to and promptly report any violation of drug tests. Additionally, you'll check either box 1, you have not had any prior positive drug tests administered by the NCAA, or you would check box 2, that you have had a prior NCAA drug test violation. Just for your knowledge, some of the NCAA banned drugs could include normal societal drugs like caffeine or alcohol. It can trigger a positive test if it's used in excess. Illicit drugs like marijuana, cocaine, or meth, performance-enhancing drugs. And again, you can, we've linked to the NCAA banned drug list in the Moodle course if you want more information about that as well. Part 5 is sports wagering. By signing this part of the form, you certify that you will agree to and promptly report any violation of sports wagering to the Director of Athletics or myself. Additionally, you'll check either box 1, you have not had any prior sports wagering related suspensions, or box 2, that you have had prior violations, and again, we would have to follow up. Part 6, this is for freshmen only, academic eligibility information. By signing this part, you certify that to the best of your knowledge, all the information that's been used for your admittance process is valid and accurate, because that's what we use for your first term of eligibility. Part 7, other prior violations. You would check either box 1, to your knowledge, you are not aware of involvement in any other NCAA violations beyond what we've already covered, or box 2, that you have had prior NCAA violations. Again, we would be following up after this meeting to discuss those. Information pertaining to a future transfer. So by signing this part of the form, you consent and agree to disclose documents and information pertaining to your transfer eligibility to any institutions that you wish to transfer to for the purposes of transferring and eligibility. Hopefully that's not the case and you know WLC is your home, but if so, you'll agree to disclose that information. Part 9, the termination of the student athlete statement. By signing this part, you understand that you may, at any time and for no reason, by providing written notice to the Director of Athletics, voluntarily terminate the effectiveness of this statement, all of the agreements and consents, and with the understanding that the termination of this automatically and simultaneously terminates your eligibility to participate in collegiate athletics. At this time, you can go ahead and save this completed PDF. So the first part with all of your information should have been completed, all of the appropriate check marks completed. You can save that, then print it, and be sure to physically sign and date it. If you are under 18, you need to have a parent or guardian also sign as well. Then you can scan it and upload it as the assignment in Moodle. Again, it must be completed and signed. Next, we'll go over the drug testing consent form. That's the form 20-3F. By signing this form, you're consenting to be tested by the NCAA in accordance with the NCAA drug testing policy, accepting the consequences of a positive drug test or breach of drug testing protocol. You allow your drug test sample to be used by the NCAA drug testing labs for research purposes, and allow the disclosure of your drug test results for only for eligibility purposes. Consequences of a positive drug test, you'll be immediately declared ineligible. If it's tested positive for a banned drug other than an illicit drug, you'll be withheld from competition for 1 full year and lose a year of eligibility. If you've tested positive for an illicit drug, immediately declared ineligible and withheld from competition for the next half of the season. Student athlete who tests positive, you do have the opportunity to appeal. If you test positive a second time for the use of any drug other than an illicit drug, you'll receive a lifetime ban from NCAA participation. Know that the penalty for missing a scheduled drug test is the same as testing positive. And if you have been found to have tampered with an NCAA drug test sample, you will be charged with the loss of a minimum of 2 seasons and remain ineligible for that regular season. We just went over everything that you're consenting to by signing this form. So at this time, you can again save the PDF to your computer, print it out, physically sign it, scan and upload it to our compliance Moodle course. At that time, we are all done with our NCAA policies. Again, if at any time this raised any questions for you, please feel free to come reach out to me, your coach, or Coach Noon, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.